Okay, so here we are on day one of week three, and today we're going to anticipate and plan for challenges and setbacks that may arise as you try to break the bad habit. So, the first lesson that we're going to get into is kind of one of my favorite life lessons of all time, which is plan tomorrow today. And this theory in general, it's easy to abide orders than to make them up, then do them, then not feel a way about them. And another way of putting that, think about it as the amount of effort that it takes to wake up, plan out your day, think about what you're going to do starting as soon as your plan is done is so much more effort than if you just plan the night before for that day and then just follow the orders. Like it's so easy, so much easier to put in effort when somebody says, "Hey, do this thing." You're just focusing on the doing the thing instead of making decisions while you're going. Oh, do I have to change this? Do I want to, push that off to another day? What do I have to do? But if you're given orders, you do it, and then sometimes like you have to run overtime, even though you don't want to, but you're given the orders. So you got to give yourself these orders about just doing it, right? And that's all you're focusing on is completing the mission. But when you plan the same day, it gets really exhausting because you're doing both like manager and worker. So it's really, really exhausting to, I'm beating a dead horse. You get it. So one of the ways that I do it, I just right before bed, even if I don't have time to write stuff down, I look at my Notion and I just go, okay, what do I kind of have to do? Okay, great. And then I know that I pick one thing that I'm going to do, the most important thing. And if you can't do that, at least just think on it. But I love having a digital notepad, and that works really well for me. There's this Brett McKay video. It's Big Rocks First, which I'm going to link below this. And it's a really fascinating, great example of doing the big things first, But if you're not planning tomorrow today, this is, in my opinion, one of the biggest reasons that people fail in general at anything. They just they don't really have any kind of clarity, and the amount of effort is just wasted. They're spending, say, this 28-day challenge, a good, 14 hours just transitioning from planning to doing, which I think is even worth more in energy to change gears when you could just wake up and do the thing and just keep going and have, like, so to speak, be on the highway versus back roads, turning and doing all this. And it's just easier to just be going. And this thinking, the plan tomorrow today, is just absolutely your first thing that you want to do in life once you start looking at how do you seriously want to navigate your life and get over the biggest challenges and do the biggest things. So then you want to identify the potential challenges and setbacks that may arise as you try to break that bad habit. So here's the thing is we're going to have, in other words, triggers, right? And social pressures and lacks of motivation because you want to have this thing being done, but the world isn't perfect and no road is straight and perfect. No path is ever going to be exactly how you figure it's going to be. It's going to be really rough. Things are going to get very difficult. New problems are going to come up. You're going to get pissed. You're going to want to give up at some point. If it's a hard enough thing, if you don't get pissed, it's probably not worth it, So like if it doesn't get hard, the challenge is probably too small. And I would say set your goals a little higher. But the challenge is you want to see them, be like, okay, well, when I'm around this person, when I'm at this place, when I have this food in my kitchen. So for example, my trigger recently is I bought some Hershey Kiss Nuggets things. And I was like thinking, oh, I'm going to just have a couple per, like, here and there. But that isn't what happened. I was triggered. I knew they were in the cabinet. I'd eat and then I'd be like, oh, time to go get 5 of them. And then I'd eat 5 and then I'd be like, oh, that's not enough. I'll just have a couple more on top. And I just kept doing that, and the bag was gone in like 2.5 days. It was absolutely ridiculous. So I knew the triggers. I recognized that I was struggling, and I managed to just notice them. It's the first thing. What is going on here? Like, be very specific. What are the triggers? And what's going to happen is your motivation is going to fail. It's going to start to wane, and you're going to think, oh well, I don't care as much. Maybe the habit's fine, and it feels good. All that, you're going to start convincing yourself that it's okay. You can kind of quit a little bit here, not just full on like handling it. You make excuses for the bad habit. This is about that time is when you just lose this motivation. You have triggers. You're exhausted from your path. You weren't planning the next day, so you weren't just existing and dealing with your path. You're trying to make up a whole new thing every day. So you want to notice all those. Then you can address them, face them on head on, make a plan to do this. And the way that I suggest doing this is accept them. Be like, okay, this person is a trigger. That sucks. Or this place is. And then, don't be in denial that thinking that, oh, well, I'll be fine in this area. Just take it, take this trigger and be like, okay, this is my weak point. And then focus on it. Denial isn't going to protect you from anything. It's a nice blanket for your mental health here and there, but it's a pacifier and doesn't project your life forward. The challenges are what you wrestle through to grow, and they're inevitable. So face them and accept them. Otherwise, you won't be growing, and they won't ever go away. If you do face them, you can make them go away. And the way that I like to address these is through minimalism. I think that taking this space in your head, say it's a bar, a person, whatever, you take that trigger, lack of motivation, whatever it is, and find out ways to get rid of it altogether. Just why do you need all this stuff? If the trigger is there, how can you eliminate it to a point to nearly zero, as much as possible? If it's a person but you're stuck living with them, can you either figure out a way to, spend less time around them, or, just completely cut them out? I don't know. Stop responding to them. I don't know. And then as far as social pressures, can you manage a way to change the way that you deal with them? And think about it as like a language, right? So if people are hard on you and, you're trying to diet, but they keep bringing in food that's junk around you, or trying to say, hey, let's go out for food here, or whatever, that kind of garbage, they're speaking a different language than you. And, let's pretend it's Spanish. You guys have spoken Spanish and everything. And then you're like, I need English. So you want to start speaking English, but they refuse to, and they're like, no, this is the way, this is how things always are. I won't let you change and be different. And you're like, no, I really want to do this. So what you can do is, instead of trying to change your language to English and speak to them in English which is your evolutionary standpoint, be like, I want this and that and so on, and be higher and better and grow. They're not speaking that language. They don't speak that language. So you got to think about going back to the Spanish language and speak to them in their language about how things are, and what you're needing. A friend of mine, he suggested that I use this word gentle, right? And it seemed like really tough for me to use, but I did use it. And I use some like variations of it, but basically go, hey, listen, I'm really struggling here. I just need you to be kind of chill out for me today, or I just need you to be gentle with me today because I'm really struggling. This is a really tough one. I really need you to respect that. And if they don't respect that, they don't respect you. And you got to really start to notice that these social pressures can really become something more than just a trigger. So then you can start to identify and embrace that challenge and be like, okay, no, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to do this. And you like step up to it and you're like, yeah, hell yeah. And you identify ways that you can take this on and be like, yep, get your hands dirty, roll up your sleeves and be like, "Growl, let's go, let's go," and embrace it, because it's really, really powerful and motivating to be like, you know what, yeah, this sucks. I'm really not into it, but like, let's go, let's do this. Like, this is going to be awesome. It's so difficult. I can't wait. And then planning for contingencies in case the initial plan doesn't work, right? We possibly have some huge setbacks. And if you don't have some kind of insurance in place, you're going to be pretty screwed. So the way that I look at it is think about how you can plan ahead, not just short term, like not nearly as close to the now as I've been talking, like think like a year from now. And you want to think about how, you know, if you what is it? It's you can always underestimate what you can do in a year and overestimate what you can do in a day, right? So if you're set back by 4 days or whatever, it's not that big of a deal. You can keep going and keep staying on the route and you'll be okay. The way that I like to do that is kind of think of like a simulated practice, but in your mind, right? And you practice using your strategies. Picture yourself, let's say you're not drinking. Picture yourself at a bar for some reason or at a party, and imagine somebody offering you a drink, but you're feeling nervous inside and you say no. You go through the motions of what you wish it was like, and you practice. You simulate that practice just like a flight simulator or whatever, right? And you get that practice in, and you're doing the steps, and you're getting this new way that your brain is connecting. You got to think about it as like you're going to feel the feelings. You're going to go through the things just in simulation. When you read a book, there's nothing there. You're not flying around dragons and, having magic and like all these people that are characters in your mind, but you still feel for them through the book. And your mind actually doesn't really fully understand the difference between reality and fiction, because it's in your head. And you really can embrace that by just imagining and meditating these like scenarios where you can kind of go through things. And yeah, they're not going to be accurate of reality because you're going to not know like weird variables, but it's going to get you really far. I'm telling you, it works really well. And then finally, for today, just wanted to say the last thing you're going to want to do is reflect on all this. And this is the thing you do at the end of the day before you plan tomorrow. And you're just like, okay, how did today go? What do I need to miss or do? And what did I miss? And you work on that. And then, you start up tomorrow and just follow this thing. So you're combining two chores that are massive, reflection and planning, all at once, less energy. It's very efficient. And in fact, one usually makes the next one easier. So if you reflect and be like, man, I really struggled with this, and be like, okay, well, tomorrow, then don't do that or do this instead. And you don't have to think about what do I have to do tomorrow. It's really easy. But again, if you're looking for some help, I am here for you. Let me know and we can chat.